your hand on a student's arm if you are able to be in an in-person lesson, or you can feel your own arm like this. Maybe so I'm playing with my right hand. Put your left arm on top of your right and feel what it would feel like to use arm weight and balance your arm weight on this. And then take all the arm weight out and then put it back in for this. So there's a number of coordination issues here and listening, because you're playing this and then you have to make it connect to this one with a good legato. Notice I'm sort of rocking back and forth. But what I'm really doing is playing this, releasing the arm weight, playing with no arm weight for these two notes, and then re-engaging just enough to make that connection go from the G sharp to the C sharp. So when I talk about releasing and re-engaging arm weight, measure 6 is a perfect spot, but measure 2 works as well. I might even be doing it on the first quarter note of measure 1. Let's see. Yes, I believe I am. So let's do measure 2 first, because it's easiest to see. Here's coming into measure 2. You can hear that when you're able to use a slow attack like that, it rings out so much better. I heard a recording on YouTube recently, yesterday, that sounded like this. And that's not inflected very carefully. It's not listening through the decay of the sound. It's worth isolating these. And notice that I use this as an upbeat. And then once I played this, you can see that I'm following through and sort of going through the point of sound, and that means through the escapement right here, that little bump, and then releasing right after that. And then right before I go on to the next note, I'm re-engaging the weight. Release, re-engage. Now in this case, release, and then play these, re-engage. So we have to re-engage that arm weight rather late. Now what do I mean by that? If you did a 2-note slur, you would feel it much more profoundly. So if I go to here, I'm going to release. Now imagine I go. And that actually is one of the most important exercises to cultivate a good cantabile. You may have heard me say before that the 2-note slur was one of Liszt's favorite exercises, and not just for developing musical listening, which we see it's very powerful for this, but also for technique. And you can see that technique is often thought of as how to play loud and fast, when in fact I think it's more important to think of technique as what do you need to do. I thought of something that Ruth Slenczynska wrote on a comment sheet to me when I was a young pianist, and talked about how you could make the piano do your bidding. And I don't think there's anything egotistical about that. It's talking about how you can develop a comprehensive transcendental technique to be able to express what you really need to and what you want to authentically. And that's why that comes around with doing basic exercises like 2-note slurs and listening really carefully through those decays. And notice that if I'm basically doing the same technique when I do this release and re-engage. I'm going to here, play through, release, re-engage. So instead of going, that's the way to practice that. So take out the quarter note and make 2 eighth notes. And this one is like a slur to here, release, play again a down up, and you get the same sensation of what it's like. Now, instead of doing that, now play the quarter note. So you imagine that you're releasing. So you release, but don't let go, and then re-engage. And then with all the voices, you end up with release, re-engage, breathe. Etc. So that is the crux of the release and re-engage cantabile technique as I espouse it.